Warm greetings to everyone watching the sentiments of old age. On New Year's Eve, the very moment when families everywhere long to gather together around a warm meal, an elderly mother quietly packed her belongings and left her son's home. And it all began with a thoughtless remark from her daughter-in-law. If mother stays, the whole year will be unlucky. Even more heartbreaking, the son, the very child she had raised with all her youth and sacrifice, softly added, "Mom, why don't you go spend Tet with Auntie in the countryside? Otherwise you might miss the bus." No tears, no farewell, only the door closing behind the frail figure of a woman in her 70s, leaving behind a heavy emptiness in her heart. Yet on the morning of the first day of the new year, when the family opened the small box she had left behind, the truth written in her final words struck them silent. The daughter-in-law, the one who had driven her away, could no longer hold back and collapsed right before the ancestral altar. Today's story will make us reflect on the meaning of family bonds, something that feels so close, yet can be lost forever if we fail to cherish it in time. Please listen. The last afternoon of the year in Hanoi was shrouded in drizzling mist. Out on the streets, voices and traffic mingled in the bustle of Tet shopping. Yet inside the spacious home of Thang and Heen, the air was heavy and strained. Bitch, Thang's mother, sat quietly in a corner of the living room, eyes fixed on the small peach blossom tree her daughter-in-law had just placed on the table. She wished to help with cooking and cleaning, but Heen showed open displeasure, avoiding letting her touch the kitchen or the family altar. Earlier that morning, as she walked across the yard, she overheard Heen whispering to her husband. "You see, the fortune teller said it. If mother stays, the whole year will be unlucky. Please, I beg you." Thang bit his lip. Deep down he knew it was wrong, but after hearing his wife repeat it day after day, his resolve began to waver. At last, he approached his mother and gently said, "Mom, maybe this year you should go spend Tet with Aunt Nok. There are still some relatives down there, it might be more cheerful." Bitch looked at her son. She did not reproach him, only managed a faint, forced smile that cut to the heart. "Yes, I was thinking the same. The house is busy, I'd only be in the way." Heen breathed a sigh of relief. She thought her mother-in-law was easygoing, that she bore no grudge. But once inside her room, Bitch had to press her hand against the wall to keep from collapsing. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Only a few hours left until New Year's Eve. In her small room on the ground floor, she quietly folded a few old clothes into a faded cloth suitcase. She had only one warm coat, and a wool scarf she had knitted herself the year before. Before leaving, she placed a small wooden box, wrapped in a silk cloth, on the living room table. On it, she stuck a short note. "Open when you have time." No one paid attention. Thang was busy hanging calligraphy couplets. Heen fussed over the year-end offering tray. Bitch picked up her suitcase and headed for the door. Her son merely called out, "Mom, let us know when you arrive safely." She nodded, her steps heavy down the staircase. The bus station was just 2 kilometers away. She didn't hail a cab, she wanted to walk, to hide her tears in the fine year-end drizzle. The wind was cold, her gray hair tousled. Everyone passing by carried fruit, sweets, and the joy of reunion. She, a mother pushed out of her own child's home on New Year's Eve, walked alone. The station was crowded, old people, children, everyone rushing. Bitch quietly bought a ticket for the last bus of the day. 4:15 in the afternoon, she sat quietly in the bus station waiting room. The harsh white light from the ceiling lamp fell across her wrinkled face, making her look even more weary. Beside her, someone casually chewed on a baguette, another chattered away on the phone sending New Year's wishes to relatives, while she just sat still, clutching her old suitcase tightly, her eyes gazing into the distance. Echoing in her mind was her daughter-in-law's words from that very morning. "The fortune teller said your zodiac clashes this year, and it also conflicts with little Nam's birth chart. If you stay, the whole family will face misfortune. Please understand." All her life she had believed in the ancestors, but never once did she believe that her very presence could be a bad omen. 70 years had gone by. If she truly carried misfortune, how could she have raised 2 children into decent, educated adults? And yet, she did not argue. For she knew, once people's hearts had decided to push her away, no words could change it. The loudspeaker crackled, announcing the departure of the bus back to her hometown. Mrs. Bitch slowly rose, her back slightly hunched, every step heavy. Before boarding, she pulled out her phone, hesitated as she stared at the short list of names. Thang, her son, Heen, her daughter-in-law, Nam, her grandson. Her trembling fingers typed a few words. I'm on the bus. Thank you for giving me such a memorable New Year. But in the end, she erased it, turned off the phone, and tucked it back into her pocket. By 7 p.m., Hanoi was alive with loudspeakers blaring New Year's greetings, electronic firecrackers crackling, colorful lights reflecting from every house in the fine spring drizzle. Yet inside the home of Thang and Heen, the air was entirely different. The altar was fully laid out. Rose-shaped boiled chicken, square green banh chung, bamboo shoot soup, red sticky rice. Everything was in order, except for one thing, the absence of the mother. Thang hurriedly lit incense, his heart heavy. In years past, it was always his mother who tended every detail, wiping the altar, arranging flowers, setting the feast. Now he stumbled clumsily through the motions, eyes stinging as the oil lamp flickered. In the kitchen, Heen washed dishes, and without meaning to, remembered her mother-in-law's habits. The chicken must cool before cutting, or the family would lose its blessing. She used to find those reminders irritating, but now that no one was there to say them, the silence left her hollow. By 8 p.m., the family gathered in front of the TV to watch the New Year comedy show. Nam, their 5-year-old son, looked around in confusion. Dad, why isn't Grandma eating watermelon with me this year? Thang flinched, and Heen froze. They forced a smile. Grandma went back to her hometown to celebrate. It's more fun there, but Nam pouted. Ted isn't fun without Grandma. The innocent words pierced their hearts like a blade. Later, while tidying the altar, Thang's eyes fell upon a small wooden box his mother had left behind, wrapped in a faded purple scarf, a hastily scribbled note stuck on top. Open when the time feels right. He stared at it for a long while, but turned away, unable to face it. Heen too sometimes thought of opening it, but convinced herself, it's probably just some old keepsakes. And so the box remained untouched, silent in the corner, like the mother herself, quietly existing somewhere far away. On New Year's Eve, fireworks illuminated the sky through the window, but inside, the couple's hearts felt frozen. They went through the rituals wordlessly, no laughter, no joy. The wooden chair where Mrs. Bitch used to sit remained in its place, empty and aching with absence. After midnight, when the household had gone to bed, Thang lay awake, restless. Heen too could not sleep. For the first time, she asked herself, were we right to let her leave over such superstition? Why does my chest ache with such coldness? Her eyes drifted to the purple-covered box, lying there still, heavy with unspoken reproach. On the morning of the first day of the Lunar New Year, the spring breeze slipped in through the window, sunlight flooding the room but failing to warm the small family of 3. No sound of Grandma opening her little shop, no voice calling children to eat candy, only the clinking of the kettle and the shuffle of Heen's slippers across the wooden floor. As she passed the altar, her eyes stopped at the box. This time, with trembling hands, she slowly lifted it up. The thin silk cloth, a little worn, still carried the faint scent of the fabric softener that Mrs. Bitch often used for her face towels. Carefully, Heen unwrapped each fold. Beneath the faded purple fabric appeared a wooden box, darkened by time but carefully preserved. The brass latch clicked open softly. Inside, everything was neatly arranged. A notebook, a small pouch of photographs, a sealed envelope, and a stack of papers with red stamps. Her hands trembling, she picked up the notebook first. The familiar handwriting of her mother-in-law appeared. It was a diary, written from the day she moved in with them. Hesitantly, Heen turned to the first page. The first day living with my children, I felt a little out of place. The new house is spacious, clean, full of conveniences, but inside my heart feels cold. Perhaps because there's no longer the sound of a broom sweeping the yard at dawn, no smell of the tea I usually brew. Heen said, Mother, let me take care of things, please don't trouble yourself with chores. I know she didn't mean to reject me, but it feels so lonely to be left standing outside in the very home I live in. Heen's throat tightened, her hands turned icy. She flipped through a few more pages. One entry was about Nam. The boy clings to me dearly, every night crawling into my arms with endless questions about the world. In those moments, my heart feels warm, though I cannot avoid the sting of sadness. Once, Heen said, Mother, don't spoil him too much or he'll be ruined. I only smiled, but that night I lay with my back to the wall, tears soaking my pillow. At that, Heen quickly snapped the notebook shut, her heart pounding. She had never imagined her quiet, reserved mother-in-law recorded every tender, hidden emotion. From the pouch of photographs, the first showed Mrs. Bitch as a young woman, cradling newborn Thang. The next were from her days as a cooperative worker, then later in retirement. In every picture, her eyes reflected resilience and endurance, yet always tinged with sorrow, the same sorrowful gaze she carried on New Year's Eve. Heen's hands shook as she opened the sealed envelope. Inside was the house deed, the land use certificate in the sole name of Nguyen T. Bitch. She froze in shock. All this time, she had believed the house belonged to Thang, bought before their marriage. More than once, she had even carelessly said, "One day we should sell this place and move to an apartment for convenience." Also inside was a folded document, an unsigned transfer of ownership. Clearly, Mrs. Bitch had intended to complete the procedure after the holiday. And there was a handwritten note. "I had planned to transfer the house to you both after Ted. But when my daughter-in-law said I was unlucky for the family, I realized I wasn't meant to stay any longer. I don't regret the house. I only regret never once hearing the words, 'Mother, please join us for dinner.'" Heen collapsed to her knees, tears streaming. Her chest felt as though crushed in a vice. At that very moment, Thang came down from upstairs, startled to see his wife clutching the papers, her face pale and distraught. Alarmed, he cried, "Heen, what's wrong?" She lifted her tearful eyes, voice breaking, "Mother. Mother is the owner of this house. She was planning to give it to us after Ted. And yet it was me, the one who drove her away, saying she brought bad luck. I was so wrong, my love." Thang stood frozen, staring at the red-stamped deed, at the pages of her diary, at the note she had left behind. In that instant, all their pride, all their excuses, all the busyness that had once shielded their neglect collapsed into dust. After a long silence, Heen choked out, "My love, let's go bring Mother back. Whether she forgives me or not, I must kneel before her and beg forgiveness at least once." Thang nodded, eyes red. Outside, spring sunlight gilded the rooftops, yet it could not warm the tall, modern house that had just lost its keeper of the hearth. On the morning of the first day of the Lunar New Year, around 8:30, after opening that box, neither of them had any desire to exchange holiday greetings. Hastily, they packed a few clothes, locked the door, and boarded a bus to Don Tung Commune, nearly 70 kilometers from Hanoi, where Mother lived. On the bus, Heen clutched a fabric bag, inside it the diary, the land deed, and her mother-in-law's letter. With every jolt of the road, the papers pressed against her side like a constant reminder. She whispered, "My love, what if she's too angry to pick up the phone? She turned it off last night. I'm afraid she might." Thang's throat closed, his heart aching. For the first time in 40 years of being a son, he felt utterly small. As they reached the edge of the village, the festive air of the countryside greeted them, red flags fluttering, loudspeakers blaring spring songs, children laughing and chasing each other, adults sipping tea, the aroma of bon chung and braised pork filling the air. But at the end of the lane, where Mrs. Bitch's three-room house stood, silence reigned. The yard was strewn with almond leaves, the wooden door locked from outside, the rusty iron gate tied shut with a rope. Thang rushed forward, shouting hoarsely, "Mother! Mother, I'm home." No answer came. From behind him, Heen's face went pale. "My love, Mother isn't here." Thang searched for the spare key in the mailbox under the eaves, then unlocked the gate. The rusty hinges screeched loudly as it swung open. The front door was locked from the inside. He knocked hard, his voice trembling. "Mother, are you in there?" The house remained silent. Thang looked at Heen and whispered, "Maybe she went to the temple for the New Year's ceremony, or over to Aunt Knock's house across the lane." The two hurried to Aunt Knock's place, Mrs. Bitch's closest neighbor. Seeing the couple arrive, the woman was surprised. "Oh, Thang, you came to wish your mother a happy new year? Why didn't you call first?" Thang asked breathlessly. "Auntie, is my mother home? The door was locked from the outside, and I called and called, but no one answered." Aunt Knock frowned. "Strange. I saw her on the afternoon of the 30th, buying vegetables to bring home. That night, the lights in her house were still on. But since the morning of New Year's Day, it's been shut tight, completely quiet." Heen grew anxious. "So, where could she have gone? I thought she went to spend the holiday with you children. Her phone doesn't connect either." Aunt Knock shook her head. A chill of dread swept over Thang. For the first time in his life, he climbed over the wall into the backyard. Heen stayed outside, clutching the iron bars with trembling hands. The kitchen door was ajar. He pushed it open. Inside, the house was cold, carrying the musty smell of neglect. The dining table had been cleared, bowls and chopsticks neatly stacked. On the altar, the fruit tray remained, but the offerings were wilted, incense sticks unlit. "Mother, are you inside?" Thang shouted. No reply. He searched every room, the attic, the grain shed, empty. The beds were neatly made, untouched. On the table sat her blood pressure medicine, every pill still intact. A wave of cold swept through his chest. He hurried to open the front door for Heen. Together, they called out in every room, their voices hoarse, "Mother! Where are you?" Only silence answered. That afternoon, panic drove them to scour the village. Neighbors, the grocery store, the bus stop. Everyone shook their heads. They hadn't seen Mrs. Bitch since the evening of the 30th. A boy selling drinks offered. "I saw an old lady in a gray coat, wearing a wool hat, sitting for a long time on the bench near the bus stop that afternoon. Then someone took her away on a motorbike, but the bike had no license plate, so I didn't notice much." Hearing this, Heen gripped her husband's hand, trembling. What if someone bad took her? What if something happened? Thang squeezed her hand firmly. "No, Mother is strong. But we need to report this to the police immediately." That night, the first of the new year, they sat in the commune office filing a report. A middle-aged officer with glasses took careful notes. "How old is she? Any health conditions? When was she last seen?" "She's 73, with high blood pressure. Last seen on the 30th, returning home alone," Thang replied. The officer nodded. "We'll coordinate the search. Please stay calm. Perhaps she's just gone somewhere and can't be reached for now." But inside, Thang's unease grew heavier by the hour. By around 10 that night, they returned to the dark house. The couple sat silently in the main hall, staring at each other without words. The dim lamp flickered, insects droned outside in the garden. On the altar, the portrait of the late father still hung, beside a candle burned down to its stub. Heen choked out, "I would give anything just to hear her scold me one more time." Thang held his wife's shoulder, his eyes rimmed red. In both their hearts, only one desperate wish remained. That Mother was still alive, and that she could forgive them. By dawn on the second day of the new year, the sky over Don Tung was thick with darkness. Wind whistled through the back garden, insects buzzing. In the empty house, Heen curled up on the wooden bed where Mrs. Bitch once slept, unable to close her eyes. Every time she tried, images of the diary, the land deed, and her mother-in-law's sorrowful face appeared. Thang sat by the altar, gaze vacant, fixed on the wavering flame of the oil lamp. They had searched all day, from relatives' homes, to bus stations, to the temple, to old neighbors, yet no one knew where she had gone. On the table lay Thang's phone, silent, blank, no calls, no messages. In the silent house, Heen softly suggested, "Should we ask the commune's loudspeaker system to announce a search for Mother tomorrow?" Thang nodded but remained quiet. Suddenly, the phone rang in the night. Both of them startled. He snatched up the phone. An unfamiliar number from the province, nearly 2 a.m. "Hello," Thang's voice trembled. On the other end came a hoarse male voice. "Are you a relative of Mrs. Nguyen T. Bitch?" "Yes, I'm her son. Do you have any news about my mother?" Thang leapt up, his heart pounding. "I'm the duty doctor at Yen Trak Commune Health Station. A woman was brought here at midnight, suffering from low blood pressure and exhaustion, without any papers. In her bag was an old family photo that looks exactly like the one you posted in your missing person notice this morning." Hearing this, Heen jumped up, hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "Is it really Mother? It must be her, right?" Choking back his breath, Thang described, "My mother is about 1.50 meters tall, with white hair, slightly stooped, a mole on her right hand near the index finger. She was wearing a gray coat and a moss-green wool hat." The doctor interrupted gently. "Yes, that's her." She was half-conscious, calling out, "Thang," again and again. Thang nearly broke down in tears. "Please keep her safe, we'll come right away." "Where is your station?" "Near Din Village Bridge, Yen Trak Commune, Phu Min District. About 20 kilometers. The roads are slippery in the rain, so drive carefully." "Yes, we'll be there immediately." By 2:10 a.m., drizzle covered the fields. Thang drove his wife on the motorbike, cold wind lashing at them, but neither spoke a word. Heen clung tightly to his back, whispering prayers. "Mother, please don't leave us." They screeched to a stop at the health station's door. A young nurse led them to room 2. Under the pale fluorescent light, Mrs. Bitch lay frail on the bed, her breath weak. Beside her sat an old handbag, slightly open, revealing a faded family photo. The duty doctor spoke softly. She's still weak, but stable. We gave her fluids and kept her warm. Luckily, she was brought in just in time. Thang clasped his mother's hand. It was cold and dry, then gradually warmed in his grasp. Mother, it's me. Thang. Her eyes opened slightly, first confused, then gradually recognizing her son and daughter-in-law. Her voice came out in broken whispers. I thought I would never see you again. Heen burst into tears, burying her face at the bedside. Mother, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. But Mrs. Bitch did not scold. Her trembling hand reached out to stroke her daughter-in-law's hair. It's all right. I'm alive just to hear you call me Mother. Thang squeezed her hand tighter, tears rolling down his face. After another examination, the doctor said that if no complications arose, she could return home the next day. Heen helped her lie comfortably, tucked in the blanket, and prepared warm water. The doctor quietly advised, when elders suffer emotional hurt, it's harder for them to recover. What she needs most is care. She doesn't seem difficult, just weighed down by sadness for too long. Hearing this, Heen nodded tearfully, silently vowing never to let her mother feel lonely again. At dawn on the second day of the new year, drizzle still hung in the air, but for Thang and Heen, a light of hope had returned. They sat quietly beside their mother, holding her hands. As long as she could still breathe, still smile, they had a chance to make amends. That afternoon, while Hanoi remained in its chilly spring cold, inside Thang and Heen's small home, the missing mother had returned after 3 days. She was weaker, thinner, but her eyes shone with unusual clarity. She sat in her familiar spot beside the tea tray, near the window with the withered bougainvillea. The atmosphere in the house was heavy, as though bowing its head in apology. Heen carried a cup of hot tea with both hands, offering it to her mother, voice trembling. Mother, I brewed some tea. Please drink to warm yourself. Mrs. Bitch took it, sipped lightly, then set it down. Her gaze lingered on her 2 children, gentle yet distant. I'm alive today thanks to strangers who brought me back, not because of you.